Hi, today I'm going to talk about my Braille journey. Before I start, please like this video, and if you don't already, please hit that subscribe button which is just below. Thanks. You know that John is blind. He's been blind since childhood. So obviously he's known Braille for a long time because he learnt it in childhood. Now he's been going to a local Braille group for about 2 years now, and I used to drop him off and then I'd pick him up, and it's about the past year I started staying at the group with him, and I was just quite fascinated by the whole concept of Braille, how these 6 dots in a cell, as they call it, can make up different letters and different words and so on, how it all works and how it's put together, because they looked pretty random to me, so I did want to learn more. So, as is pretty much the standard, I started to learn UEB, which is Unified English Braille. And I found a course that actually explained why dots were placed the way that they are. So instead of seeing like they were completely random, it actually made some sense to me as to why dots were placed the way they are, the grouping of them. And the only anomaly in this grouping is the letter W, and that's simply because Louis Braille, the Frenchman who invented Braille, invented it at a time when the letter W didn't exist in the French alphabet. So the letter W is the anomaly, but all the other letters fit into this kind of grouping, and it made sense once I understood that. So that was good. So I learnt the alphabet quite quickly. I found understanding the grouping made it easier to learn, so I learned the alphabet quite quickly. And I found both John and the other group members were really supportive of me learning Braille, and they asked me if I was going to learn it by touch, to which I said no, I was just going to learn it by sight. I thought learning it by touch would be really difficult, so I was just planning on learning it by sight. And they did joke that I'd be able to read in the dark if I learned to read it by touch, but reading in the dark isn't really that important to me, so that's okay. Once you've learned the letters of the alphabet, you can put them together to make words, just the same as you would do if you were writing them or reading them or whatever. And so I've got something here. It's actually, if I hold it up so you can see, it's actually a menu from a cafe. And if you look at the top, we've got toasted sandwiches. If you see, it takes up quite a lot of space on the page. It's over half a line on the page, just taken up by the 2 words, toasted sandwiches. So Braille in the cells takes up quite a lot of room. And the other issue you've got as well is that all of these letters here on the Braille, they're all lowercase. So if you want to show a letter that's uppercase, so a capital letter at the start of a sentence, for example, you need to put a dot in the cell before, a dot 6 in the cell before, just to denote that the following letter is a capital letter, so you're capitalising the letter at the start of a sentence. So your capital letter actually takes up 2 Braille cells. So not only does it take up more space than print, it also takes up the extra because of your capital letters. So what they did quite cleverly was they invented something called contracted Braille, or grade 2. So that's grade 1 Braille, where you're just doing, writing the letters as you would do in normal print. But grade 2 Braille, or contracted Braille, actually contracts these things together. So, for example, if you've got the anomaly letter W, for example, if you just have that on it sitting on its own, in contracted Braille, that means will. So instead of having to type out W-I-L-L, you'd just put the letter W, and that means will in contracted Braille. And in addition to that, there are dots that you can put in front of the letter that will make it into another word. So use the dots down the right hand side of the cell, which are dots 4, 5, 6. The left hand side of the cell's dots 1, 2, 3. The right hand side of the cell's dots 4, 5, 6. So by using the dots 4, 5, 6, maybe one of them, two of them, or all three in front of the letter, it will change what the word is that it represents. So as I said, W is will, but if you put a dot 5 in front of the W, it's work. If you put dot 4, 5 in front of the W, it becomes word. And if you use all three dots, 4, 5, 6 in front of the W, it becomes world. So from just this one letter W, you've got 4 words, just by doing different things with it. And then there's also shortened forms. So for example, if you're writing could, instead of writing C-O-U-L-D, you'd write C-D. Or your, Y-O-U-R, you'd write Y-R instead. So it's almost kind of like texting, the way the words are shortened. And then also they've got arrangements of dots that can represent commonly grouped letters, for example ED or ER or ING. So you can just use an arrangement of dots in the cell to represent those letters. So ING, for example, would be dots 3, 4, 6. One of the other members of the Braille group told me that there's around 180 different contractions that you can use to shorten words in Braille so that it takes up less space. So it can be quite complex to learn contracted Braille, but personally I think it's worth it because it does take up less space. So that's good. So if we go back to this cafe menu again, this is actually written in uncontracted Braille grade 1, which is why it's taking up more space. But if we look at it, how do we actually produce these dots on the paper? Well, we have something that's called a Brailler. I'll just grab it here. So this here is John's Brailler, and I just hold it up so you can see it. It's quite heavy. You can see it's got, basically, hold it that way so you can see the top, it's got a space bar in the middle and it has 3 keys either side, and each of those keys represents a dot in the Braille cell. So you just press down the appropriate key. So if you're brailing rather, the letter B, which is dots 1 and 2, you'd hold down the 2 keys that represent dots 1 and 2 together to produce that on the paper. So that's how that works. Now it does have a handle on the top, as you can perhaps see here. It's got a handle on the top which is supposed to make it a bit more portable, but it's actually quite bulky and heavy, and I think if you carried it for too long, you'd probably end up with your arms and your hands by your kneecaps. So that's that. That's how you produce the Braille on the paper. Now, unfortunately, a bit like if you're using a manual typewriter, if you make a mistake, you have to start the whole page all over again. So that is a bit of a pain from that point of view. So when you're using the manual Brailler, personally I think it's important to take your time and make sure that you're getting each one right, because if you do make a mistake, it is back to the drawing board, unfortunately. Now, also with the advent of technology, good old technology, we've got something like this. This is a Braille eReader. Now, I've got this on loan from the Braille group. So it has the same 6 dots across there, each representing a dot in each of the cells. But because these can also attach to a computer, and a computer can't cope with having 2 characters just to make up a capital letter, for example, or 2 characters to create a number. So this has these extra 2 dots either side of the space bar, dots 7 and 8, and these appear on the bottom of there. So you can make a capital letter just by using one cell and using the dots in 7 and 8. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's dot 7, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So if you have the dot 7 with the letter from these 6 dots, it makes a capital letter. So this has an SD card in the back there, so you can put different books on there if you want to, different files. You can create new files and braille them out using this and save them onto your SD card. Or you can also connect it to your phone or your tablet or your computer or whatever. And say, for example, you get a text. If it's connected to your phone, it will then transcribe it on here into Braille, so you can read the text from your phone. And if you want to reply, you can just Braille your reply and it will send it to your phone, and then it will text it back as print to the person that you're replying to, which is quite clever. So if I just switch this on, so that's just letting us know that it's on. You can hear the clicking sound, that's the cursor clicking. So if I just hold this up, I don't know if you can see, I brailled Hello World on that. Very original, I know. So that says Hello World in Braille. So that's pretty useful. It's been quite good fun playing with this as it's on loan. And we may actually get one for ourselves, well, for John in the future. I've gotten quite addicted to Braille, and I got called a Braille Addict by the leader of the group. I can say I've been called worse things, but I can manage, I can cope with being called a Braille Addict, because when we've gone out and we've gone in a lift, for example, I've been looking at the Braille on the buttons. Is this going to the ground floor, the first floor, the second floor, lower ground floor or whatever? So I've been looking at the Braille there. And when you get a packet of painkillers, for example, or any sort of tablet, I've been reading the Braille on the packets. So I've been quite addicted to it, and I did want to learn more. So I did 2 Braille maths courses. The first one was an introductory one, so it just did really basic stuff like adding and subtracting, multiplying, dividing and so on, and some simple fractions as well, and simple shapes too, so brailing a triangle or a circle or a square, for example. And then I did an advanced maths course which goes on and does trigonometry, quadratic equations and those sort of things. So that was really interesting. I really enjoyed those, and I would love to do some more. Maybe music or science or something, because there's specific Braille for these things, especially as they get more complex. It's not that I would probably ever use them, but it's just really quite addictive learning Braille. And it's amazing that this arrangement of 6 dots in a cell can pretty much denote anything that you can see in print. I just think it's really fascinating. So I guess I am a proper Braille addict. I am enjoying it, and I still have no plans to learn to read it by touch. I'm just going to stick with reading it by sight, because I don't think I have any reason to learn it by touch. So I should just stick with learning it by sight. But it really is quite fascinating to learn, and I'm glad I've done it, because it's been really enjoyable learning something new. So that was good. Anyway, I've confessed. My name is Sue and I'm a Braille addict. So thank you for listening. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you've got this far and you don't already, please subscribe, and we shall see you next time. Bye.